Jesse Agler.
Welcome back. Troy Drayton and John Congemi are here. Andy Cohen, Dolphins.com columnist up in D.C. with the team at the White House. He'll join us coming up in a little bit. We were going to talk to him now, but he's got to get through security at the airport. And what do you think? 5 o'clock on a Tuesday at Reagan, and it's going to take a little while. So we'll catch up with Andy 15, 20 minutes from now after he takes off his shoes and goes through security. In the meantime, you can call us up, 1-855-555-GO-FINS, 1-855-GO-FINS. You can text us at 347-347. Running back Daniel Thomas is going to swing by the studio in the second hour of the show as well. We were just talking a little bit about, the Richie Incognito Antonio Smith situation. Wes texts in, guys, if Antonio Smith would have hit Richie in the head, he could have seriously hurt him. The suspension seems like a joke. He used the helmet as a weapon to seriously injure an opposing player. What are your thoughts? I agree with everything you just said, and my thoughts are that he's lucky he missed. Because you're right. I mean, if he connects on that, he might lose half the season.
At least.
He might lose 8 games. I mean, it would have been that bad. And it's just an inexcusable thing on his part. And again, great job by Richie not reacting in the moment. Great job today by Richie just sort of taking the high road and saying, hey, heat of the battle, things happen. But the NFL has suspended Antonio Smith for the final 2 preseason games, which means nothing, and the first regular season game for the Texans, which absolutely means something. Meanwhile, Von Miller's suspension has gone official. He had his appeal and everything. 6 games for the Broncos linebacker. 6-game suspension for Von Miller. Ravens at home, at the Giants, Raiders and Eagles at home, at the Cowboys, and then the Jaguars. 3-3? They're lucky? I mean, he's a huge part of the defense. Look, I know it's Peyton Manning and Wes Welker, and they're going to score 40 points a game. But it hurts. It hurts not to have him. And that's the situation the Denver Broncos will be dealing with. National media, we talk about it a lot, right? Fans get bent out of shape. We get no respect from the national media. They don't want any part of us. They don't talk about us enough. SportsCenter doesn't show us any love. NFL Network pretends we don't exist. And my response whenever we hear that, which is all the time, is generally, who cares? Don't let it bother you. Don't let it bother you. Today, though, for those of you who require that love, who need that love from the national media, ESPN Magazine put out their NFL preview. They predict, right? ESPN Magazine took out their crystal ball. They've got the New England Patriots going 9-7 and not making the playoffs because they've got the Miami Dolphins winning the AFC East. So there you go. ESPN Magazine. You can all go out and subscribe now. ESPN Magazine has the Dolphins winning the division and New England going just 9-7. I'm not going to get excited about that, just the same as I wouldn't get upset if they predicted the Dolphins to go 4-12. But still, for those of you that need that, it is a little bit of a nice validation.
I mean, it's nice, but we have to wait for the reality of the season. Everybody has predictions. Everybody can feel like, this team's going to do well. This team's going to be middle of the road. This team's not going to be in the playoffs. You still have to wait for the regular season. Now, you get a good indication of what teams are going to be like this week because you're going to get to see 3 quarters of football with primarily the starting 22. On offense, the 11. On defense, the 11. Your special teamers running down and covering kicks, the guys returning. You're going to get a pretty good indication right now of where your team stands after, 17, 18, 19, 20 practices of training camp. Training camp's going to break. They're going to have one more preseason game, and then it's go time for real. So I think, Troy, for the Miami Dolphins, this is a good week, a good gauge to see where they are, not so much defensively, because I think we have a better pulse on where they're going defensively. I like the changes they've made. I love the linebacking changes. I like the rotation up front. Brent Grimes is a huge addition, the best cornerback that we've had here in years. The way he anticipates, the way he catches the football in the defensive secondary. I think the biggest test is going to be on the offensive side of the football to see how this offensive line can continue to run block, which they've done a pretty good job of that. Can they improve protecting Ryan Tannehill? Can the playmakers around Ryan Tannehill now, minus Dustin Keller, be able to get the job done over the long haul? I think we're going to get a nice glimpse of who's going to be auditioning for that role, whether it's Charles Clay and a cast of others or how they do that this week. So I think my eyes are on the offense.
Yeah, my eyes are on the offense. I mean, it's always good to get some type of recognition, but, the things will be settled between the white lines. And I think everybody will be watching the offense because there's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of question marks on how we're going to handle the Dustin Keller situation. There's some question marks at the right guard position. So ultimately, I'm going to look and see how they come together, how they look, with John Jerry in there and how they look in there with Lewis in there as well. So I want to see some push up front. I want to be able to see our running backs, get average 5 yards a carry. And I now just want to see how they're going to incorporate the run and the pass. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, how balanced this Miami Dolphin team. Not only will they be against Tampa, but I think this Tampa game will definitely show you how balanced this team will be going forward in the regular season as well.
That's the key thing from this game is you're finally going to get to see into the third quarter, the team that is pretty much going to be the team. And obviously, look, hey, we as geeky people who follow this team day in and day out, we like these other preseason games where you get to see a Keenan Davis and a Chad Bumpus and an A.J. Francis really excel and try and make a name for themselves. But this game, okay, this is what the Miami Dolphins are going to look like in 2013, at least for 2.5 quarters or so. And that's what's kind of exciting about this game. And Ryan Tannehill sort of talked about that today.
It's big. It's the one where you're going to get the majority of your playing time. Starters will play, I don't know how much, but probably the most of any of the preseason games. So it's big. We want to build on what we did last week and continue to get better. It's kind of a dress rehearsal game for our first game.
That's it. It's the dress rehearsal game, and that's what makes it a lot of fun. Hope to see you out at Sun Life Stadium Saturday. Kickoff at 7:30. Tickets at dolphins.com. Let's go over to the Metro PCS Comment Center. Tristan's been chatting with the fans online. Get to a couple of their questions.
All right, these guys are very concerned about the tight end situation with Dustin
very
Keller
fairly, yes.
being out for the season. And Bob from Chapel Hill wants to know about today's practice, and he says, did any tight ends shine for you guys today at practice?
Yeah, I mean that's the main question moving forward is what are these tight ends going to do to step up? And you got to talk about it. One, it looked to me, now what do I know, but it looked to me like Charles Clay was definitely doing some of the Dustin Keller type stuff. He was a little bit playing the role of Dustin Keller, and that's probably oversimplifying it a little bit. But again, I would expect to see Charles Clay split out there doing a lot of those things. Something else that is critical to pay attention to, Evan Rodriguez, who's kind of an H-back, but has been playing more fullback than tight end with the Dolphins, and in fact have been practicing with the running backs and not with the tight ends. Today we saw him doing individual stuff with the tight ends. That is a change. That is different today, something we haven't seen at all previously in training camp. Evan Rodriguez working with the tight end group.
Well, he definitely has the body type to be able to play that position. He's done it in the past. He's been that hybrid type of player on the offensive side of the football. He has great hands. That's the one thing you notice when you watch him practice. He can catch the football like a true tight end. He's not a running back coming out of the backfield. He catches a hand catcher. So he's strong upper body. He can get, down the football field. He's elusive. And, it's going to take time, though. It's not going to happen overnight. This evolution of trying to blend four guys and to do what Dustin Keller has done over the last 3 weeks and primarily over the last season, couple of seasons with the New York Jets, this isn't going to happen overnight. But I think it's going to be more seamless for Charles Clay because he has had that role. He has had that plate in front of him to try to go down and play the role of the main tight end and do those things. And I think Deion Sims, he was coming on early in camp, and now I think he's kind of, treading water a little bit. He's kind of plateaued and flattened out a little bit for me. And I think Michael Egnew and Kyle Miller, they're still in a battle to see who's going to be on this roster. So right now it's Charles Clay. He's the guy that has to pick up the reins from Keller and make it a seamless transition moving from one injury to a healthy guy that has his opportunity right out in front of him.
We'll obviously get back to the tight end conversation. It's a big conversation to have, and I imagine we'll be talking about it well